Greetings. I'm Hal Ming with the Center for Food Preservation Arts, and welcome to the sixth and last episode in our series on home food preservation that we've been doing in collaboration with Food is Free Tacoma. In this one, we're going to be taking a look at the easiest form of home fermentation, making sauerkraut. Now, there are three different kinds of fermentation that are used in food. A lot of people will probably be familiar with the one that produces ethanol, i.e. alcoholic fermentation, making wine, beer, kombucha, mead, things like that. And then the second step, when you have made the alcohol, is if you introduce a different type of bacteria, you're going to come up with vinegars, which is how we get wine vinegars and apple cider vinegars. And the last one, though, the one we're working with today, is the lacto-fermentation, where we introduce lactobacteria, which change the sugars into the wonderful products like yeasts, bread, cheese, and sauerkraut. So people wonder, well, what's the difference between just pickling and fermentation? Well, both of them create an acid environment that helps to kill some bacteria, but at least stunts the growth of the majority of them. But in pickling, we're introducing the acid, say by adding the vinegars to it. Fermentation, bacteria take the sugars and in some cases the alcohols that are present and convert them. And the lactose fermentation is what we're going to be demonstrating in its simplest form tonight because we want everybody to give it a shot. So in lacto-fermentation, there's basically two techniques. One is called the dry technique, where you shred the vegetables, mix them with salt, and then pound them or massage them to break down the cells. Now, all of this salt helps to stop the bacteria we don't want, but the lactose bacteria, they can live in a fairly salty environment. The other form is a brine, where we add a highly salt combination of water to the product. So we're going to start off by talking about the basic things that we need. And the first of those is some type of a container. Now you've probably seen, or maybe you even have, some stoneware crockery that they use. This is just a major step up from it. And I'm not suggesting that you have to rush out and buy one of these, but it's really neat in that it has its own weights that you put on top of the sauerkraut to hold it down. And then it has this rim here so that when you put the top on, you fill it with water, and that creates the airlock. Because the second thing, well, the third thing actually, the second thing is the weight to hold the sauerkraut down. The third thing is some way for the gases, the carbon dioxide that's being produced, to escape. Today, we're going to be showing you the simplest way, just using a regular quart jar. For weights, we have a variety that we can be using. So after we've decided on the container, we need some type of weight to hold the cabbage down. It starts producing, the salt draws out liquid, so it starts to cover itself with its own brine solution. But if there's not enough of that, we add some so that it's definitely covered. One of the nice things to do, and they're not all that expensive, is to get a set of these glass weights. You also can just go to a craft store or even just to an aquarium place and get some of these glass marbles. And then you put them in a jar, seal them with a lid, and then that could serve as the weight. But today we're going to show you the simplest one because we're wanting to do the least expensive way for you to get into it. And that is a baggie filled with salt water. And that will just fit down over the top there and hold the cabbage down. And then we need some type of an airlock. It can be as simple as a piece of cheesecloth that you put over it and tie down, or it can be like a modification of something that you might use if you're making wine, one of these airlocks. But the big thing that I really like is what are they calling pickle pipes, where they're just these nice piece, and it's got a little hole to let the gas out. And it just screws on. And so now we're going to get into making this jar. One of the things that people need to remember is it's going to take anywhere between 7 to 14 or more days, depending on the degree of sourness you want in the sauerkraut. So it's not something that you can do overnight. Patience, patience. So I've already prepared just a small amount of cabbage for this demonstration. Just basically you're shredding it up with a knife, or you can actually get devices that help you do it easier or faster if you're doing large quantities. But it's really pretty simple. There's just some basic ingredients. You need the vegetable, in this case cabbage. You need the salt, and you want to use pickling or canning salt or kosher salt, but it's possible to get as fine a grind on it as possible. And there are different proportions, but it's usually about 2 teaspoons per pound of shredded cabbage. And you just get that in there, and you make sure that you mix the salt and get everything covered. And then you let it sit for about 15 minutes at room temperature. Now, I'm not going to make us do that. So here is some that has already had a chance to sit. And you can see how much liquid naturally comes out of it. So now comes the fun part. After it's set, you want to massage it. You want to squeeze it. You want to break down a bunch more of those cells to get the liquid out. Now, some people find it easier to use some kind of a tamper and do a lot of beating on it. But I just like to use my hands. Gets out some inner aggressions. So as you can see, we're well on our way already. And then you want to start filling the container. It's kind of a messy process. But that's what the temper or a mallet is really good for. Now, I've deliberately not put a huge quantity, not enough to fill the entire container, because I want there to be enough room to show you what's going on. But you want to get everything in there, including all the liquids you've already developed. And here we go. And you can see that it's already got enough liquid all on its own. And then the next step is you put in a leaf that you've set aside. And you want to make sure there is enough liquid. So this is a saltwater solution, which in the recipe that's going to be on our resources list, which notes will be in the description of the video, and also if it's posted on Facebook, it will be there. But you can go, and we have all different kinds of resources, including a lot of different recipes for like kimchi and everything else. So when you have enough liquid in there, you want to put in whatever you're using as the weight. And of course, you're going to want to throw away that leaf that's on top. But when you get the bag with the liquid in there to help hold it down, then you place your pickle pipe and the ring, and then you keep it at a room temperature out of direct sunlight, and you can check it every day or two. And what it's going to look like as it is developing is here is one that's still in process. It's about 4 days old. And you can see some of the bubbles as it's fermenting. And it definitely has that nice, rich odor of vinegar and cabbage. And in here, we're using one of these. And then this is some of the final product. This had sat for about a little over 2 weeks, and it is very tender. I had shredded it very, very thin, and it has the degree of sourness that I enjoy. So while you can leave this sitting out, it is not technically shelf-stable because the bacteria will continue working, and it'll make it sour and increase the sourness and the acidity until finally it starts to break down entirely. So it's strongly recommended that you refrigerate this product. It'll keep a lot longer. It'll keep easily 6 to 9 months in the refrigerator. So I'd like to thank everyone for joining us for this series. And there are a lot of resources, as I mentioned, and it's really just a process of playing with it. It's almost more of an art than a science. So once again, thank you all, and I hope to see you on the next series we do.